These are two of the biggest phones from two of the biggest smartphone makers that you can order right now. The Galaxy S10 Plus that Samsung just announced, and the iPhone XS Max from Apple. Let's put them head to head to see what they're like. So these are the backs of the Galaxy S10 Plus and the iPhone XS Max. You can see they're basically the same size. The S10 Plus is maybe a hair taller and potentially slightly narrower than the iPhone XS Max. It's both glass on both of the phones, so you can wirelessly charge them. And the main difference, obviously, is how the cameras are placed. This is a horizontal camera array, whereas it's a vertical one over there. And of course, there's an extra lens that's a new feature of the S10 Plus. There's a 16 megapixel wide-angle lens joined with a standard 12 megapixel lens with a variable aperture and 12 megapixel telephoto lens. Now that's opposed to Apple's format, which uses a 12 megapixel dual camera setup with OIS for both, and that's about it. One's a telephoto lens, so just like this, you can get 2 times optical zoom, and the other one is the standard lens as well. While it's glass on the back and the front for both of these phones, Apple's new iPhone XS and XS Max use stainless steel around the frame for the metal sides. And that's better than the aluminum that Samsung's using. So definitely more premium metal here on the iPhone XS Max as opposed to the S10 Plus. The iPhone XS Max has a 6.5-inch screen as opposed to the 6.4-inch on the S10 Plus. The differences here are the resolution is definitely higher. It starts with Full HD Plus on the S10 Plus, but you're getting the option to jump to WQHD Plus, so it's a much sharper screen as opposed to the Super Retina HD screen on the iPhone XS Max. Of course, there's a different style of screen as well. There's a notch here on the XS Max as opposed to this hole punch camera, or as Samsung calls it, the Infinity O display, where you get that floating camera at the top. You're actually also getting an extra camera sensor here. It's mostly to capture depth data. However, Apple's Face ID recognition system, which unlocks the phone, essentially it's all what's here. That's the purpose of this notch. Whereas here, this is just for this extra camera. This 8 megapixel extra camera is just for capturing depth, and it's joined by a standard 10 megapixel camera. So you're not getting any type of secure facial recognition system. That's what the in-display fingerprint sensor is here for. So now how that works is essentially when I lock the phone, you can see right here the fingerprint sensor. It's an ultrasonic in-display fingerprint sensor. All I have to do is put my finger on it and voila, unlocked. And that's sort of the opposite of the iPhone XS Max, which Apple famously got rid of Touch ID, so now you just have to look at the phone and it'll unlock. So that's two different styles of unlocking the phone. Of course, there is a face unlock option available on the S10 Plus, but it's just something that it's not as secure, so you can't rely on it for authenticating payments or accessing some secure apps. Obviously, Apple's screen is excellent. There's things like True Tone where it can adjust the screen's color to fit the environment you're in. But of course, Samsung also has a couple tricks on its sleeve. The dynamic screen here is HDR10 Plus certified, so you're getting much better colors and a sharper screen itself. But also, it's TÜV certified to reduce blue light exposure by 42% natively, so you don't need a filter or anything like that. The iPhone XS Max has a 3174 milliamp hour battery, whereas the S10 Plus has a massive 4100 milliamp hour battery. Now, this is going to get a little tricky in terms of which phone is going to give you better battery life. We haven't obviously tested the S10 Plus fully yet, so theoretically you would expect it to give you better battery life, but of course there's a lot of power draw differences between iOS and Android. There might be better battery optimization on the iPhone XS Max. So again, it's hard to say. More or less, we've been getting about a full days of use with the iPhone XS Max. We expect to definitely hit that and maybe even go potentially slightly over a second day or over a first day of use on the S10 Plus. But both of them do have wireless charging, and the S10 Plus does have one nifty feature that would be popular to show off to your friends. It's called wireless power share. So all you have to do is turn this on, and now it can charge any other Qi-enabled device wirelessly. So all you need to do is place your phone or earbuds or really anything else that's wirelessly charging capable. And as you can see, it's charging right there. And now you can juice up your friend's phone. The Galaxy S10 Plus has a Snapdragon 855 processor with 8 gigs of RAM. There's also a 12 gig of RAM option available in the 512 and 1 terabyte storage options. Meanwhile, the Apple iPhone XS Max is using Apple's A12 Bionic processor, and it also has 4 gigs of RAM. So which really is the faster phone? It's going to be really hard to tell because both of these phones are going to perform a bunch of tasks at super lightning fast speeds. So really, the better question to ask is, do you want an Android phone or do you want an iOS phone? There are two different operating systems with both with benefits, both with negatives. One of those negatives is actually worth mentioning. Android phones, specifically Galaxy phones, don't really get updates that fast unless you get a Google Pixel 3 or another Google Pixel phone, or say something like a OnePlus 6T, whereas iPhones regularly get updates very fast across the board. Samsung, for example, just brought the Android Pie update to the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. That's 6 months after Google released Android 9 Pie. So that is a detriment to the Galaxy series in general. When you buy it, expect to get slower than usual updates. But if that's not really an issue for you, then it really, again, is going to come down to whether you want to use Android or iOS, because there's a lot to like for both operating systems. Now, when it comes down to pricing, they're kind of similarly priced. The iPhone XS Max is actually more expensive by about $100. So that's $1,100 for the XS Max, whereas the S10 Plus costs $1,000, but you do get more storage space, 128 gigs on the S10 Plus as opposed to 64 gigs on the base iPhone XS Max. So that's a quick look at the iPhone XS Max and the Galaxy S10 Plus, and you're going to have to decide which one's the best option for you.